want to talk about how social media has changed storytelling.
Right.
You know, once upon a time, you wrote a story, you had an editor, you had a fact checker, there was 24 hours at least between stories. That's changed in the last 10 years. How have you seen it change, and how has it impacted the art of storytelling, social media?
Well, it's done two things. One, it's lowered the barriers to entry, and it's democratized the whole storytelling.
So now anyone can put out a story.
Yeah, anyone can be anyone who can put out a story, and the people who are good at telling stories have lots of different platforms to tell them. So they can tell them on a blog or on a YouTube video, or they can do a great webinar or a podcast, or even on Twitter, you know, despite the fact that you've only got 140 characters. But that's what's really sort of, I think, changed everything for people like myself and for startup entrepreneurs, is that there's lots of different places that you can do it.
That's a double-edged sword. If you lower that bar, so everybody can put out their opinion, then you have a whole signal-to-noise issue.
Right.
When I read your piece in the Globe and Mail, no matter what I thought of the piece, I knew it had a certain standard of journalistic quality, I knew it had been researched, and I knew you could be held accountable to your words. But I don't know that that's always true in social media, and I wonder how that changes the story.
Well, I think we're going through, I mean, we've gone through this love affair with social media where everybody is climbing on the bandwagon, and now social media is table stakes. I mean, we're all on Twitter and we're all on Facebook.
It's assumed. It's like having a website. Once
Yeah.
upon a time it was a luxury. Now, how could you not?
Right, and so in some sense the playing field is level because everybody has the same weapons in their communications arsenal, and I think it's making it increasingly difficult for anybody to capture the spotlight, and I think it's put more pressure than ever on the ability to be creative and to tell a good story and to think outside of the box and to do things that are more interesting, more insightful, more entertaining, and more engaging.
So because there's more people doing it, there's more noise, you have to make your signal even stronger, more creative, the hook even better.
Right, and I think one of the keys that that a lot of companies need to remember that social media is not a quantity game. It's not how many tweets you put out or how many platforms you're on. It's how well you leverage the platforms that you're on and how you can connect with your target audiences. So if you decide, for example, I'm only going to be on Twitter and we're going to do an awesome job doing multiple things on Twitter, then hey, that's great, and do your thing. But if
Do you think that should be a bandwidth decision? I only have so much time in the day, or should that be an audience decision? Who I want my story to be heard by uses Twitter as opposed to Facebook or the newspaper?
It's probably both, but I think that has more to do with your audiences than anything else, because you gotta party where the party's happening, and so you want to basically focus your efforts on where your consumers are getting their information and how you want to engage them and where you want to engage them, and I think that, you know, by being focused and taking your target audiences into mind, you can do a much better job of serving them, and then they'll get more value out of it, and then they'll stick around longer. They'll see it as a trusted and valuable resource, as opposed to you're trying to do everything to basically get as wide a base as possible.